how are we going to get the names and contact information to everybody here?
All right. At the back table, in case y'all have to leave, Lauren Clever, who's videotaping this, by the way, it is being videotaped if you want to take it back to your organization. It'll probably be number one bestseller. But make sure we get your email address so that we can communicate with you. All right?
I'm going to bring up the nasty crime. I don't say assume because I know what that means. I would expect that once a person takes responsibility, accountability, and ownership of their community, that they're very active in pushing crime out of that community. But if you could address crime in the community, the transformation it took, and is there a wonderful relationship between the police department and the community now?
Well, that is a very different subject, and it relates to community development. It relates to what goes on within neighborhoods. And my experience has been, as residents within the neighborhood start to take back their streets, as the economics in the neighborhood are stimulated so that new neighbors move in, and those that could move out choose to stay. When the strength of the community, which is the basic building blocks of neighborhood, are neighbors. So when the strength of community starts to emerge, you see a reweaving of the fabric of community, crime goes down. And that's because folks organize themselves and they establish crime watches. And the seniors that are there, that are living behind the blinds, they're calling somebody. And the police department comes to the community meetings and says, how can we work together? And the community says, how do we get rid of that crack house? And so the collaboration between the community and law enforcement is a vital relationship. But it really can't happen unless neighbors catch a vision for transforming their community. And so it is a community development issue. It's not necessarily a human service issue, community development issue. And then criminal activity starts just at the top. Doesn't become utopian, but neighbors are talking to each other and they are reporting. And so with engagement, one of the problems that a weak neighborhood presents to the police is that when they go to the trouble of arresting a perpetrator and nobody shows up in court and that person walks, it's very demobilizing, demotivating for police. And so they're not quite as excited about doing that over and over again. But when the community says, we'll be here in court, we'll witness, get a continuance, we'll come back, we'll be there to support your activities, that motivates the police. And so that partnership between human safety and community is just essential. Good question. And I think most of the criminal activity is pretty much community-based. Folks kind of know what's going on and where the perpetrators live. Yes. One more. Where's the lady with the mic? Mary? Mary's back there. You gotta arrest Mary.
Okay, so I guess I'm the last one. I just want to say that I have become more aware of something called social entrepreneurship, and I think it's very interesting, but I also realize that oftentimes the job training that the people receive is often it has a ceiling. It is usually construction or hospitality skills, and I know that is often a step up, but I wanted to ask you, is there any, I think education ultimately is the way out of those low ceiling kind of jobs. And is there any kind of social entrepreneurship program that you feel, or model that you feel could work for school I think oftentimes tutoring just in itself isn't enough. I don't think enough people are willing to go to a tutor. I think they need to feel empowered, and I think you're right when you say that. And I just wanted to ask, do you know of anything or have any suggestions?
Some school systems are beginning to raise those very questions. Are we preparing our graduates for jobs? And the emphasis in recent history has been prepare these kids for college. And so the evaluation of a high school is how many of our graduates are going on to college. That's probably not a good strategy for everybody. Our society kind of runs on people who go to work every day and drive trucks and cook meals and do all of those functions that keep our city going. And so some school systems, and Atlanta is just trying this out, is to have kids as early as 7th grade say, I'm going to pick a track, a career track, and then start shaping the education toward that so that when they come out, there's a job waiting for them. Maybe a mechanic's job, might be a cooking job, it may be a truck driving job, but it's not one that requires college. It may require some training. And so I think that educational preparation for real life jobs where folks can support themselves is very important, and particularly is that true in low-income populations. So again, this is kind of new stuff for us as a society. We kind of concluded that our public education system hadn't delivered, particularly in low-income areas, and so how do we change that? And we're the people that have the capacities, the connections to do that. We've, in our community, we've started 3 different schools. Education is so important. We've started 3 different models, and we're trying them out, see what works best. But that's a whole, it's an open field for us today. It's vitally important. Thanks for the question.
What happened to that new house?
You've gone to Myrtle now. You know what helped? We built a brand new house right in the heart of the inner city. That helped. First one had been built there in about 60 years. Family said that's a terrible investment. Proved to be a good investment. That helped. The difficult part was the 2 kids. Going into 1st grade and into 4th grade. And we realized we'll probably not be involved in the neighborhood school unless our kids are there. And so we put our kids in that school, and that was quite, that was a good experiment. Actually, it paid off pretty well. Are we up there?
We are.
Thank you all very, very much.